Hustling to the stage and performing. Hustling through the hate and busting the door. Lately nothing.
Hey everyone, what's up? Today is Saturday, February 25th. I'm Stephanie Bates, here with my co-host Lauren Chiangpradit.
Hi guys.
You know what? I think that's the first time I've ever gotten your last name right.
It definitely is, but there's a first time for everything.
That's true. So this week we're here to talk to you about the crazy week it has been leading up to the men's college basketball conference tournaments, as well as the March Madness tournament following those. We're going to give you the lowdown on the current frontrunners and teams that you're going to want to keep your eye on.
All right, so let's talk about something that everyone is talking about, the number one seeds. They're saying if the tournament starts today, the teams that will be in those spots are Kansas, Villanova, Gonzaga, and North Carolina.
You know what? It's way too early to make these kind of, claims, teams still have a game or two left in the season, and with conference tournaments coming, there's no say on what's going to happen or who's going to win.
Yeah, and then there's those teams that are on the edge, like Arizona, Oregon, and Baylor, and they have the opportunity to bump themselves up into that number one seed spot if they're able to produce in the next couple of days.
That's true, and those on-the-edge teams have some big games this weekend, so those ones will be great.
But do you really think it's possible for a number one ranked team in the nation like Gonzaga to get bumped out of that number one spot?
Well, they are in the West Coast Conference, and that conference is weak. They're going to win the conference, so they're not going to get...
Yeah, completely. Yeah. But I think with that easy conference and that easy schedule comes a couple of perks. They're going to have fresh legs that teams like North Carolina, Villanova, and Kansas don't have the luxury of because they've been playing tough games all season long.
Yeah, but Gonzaga is overrated. They've played no top 10 teams this season. Do you really think they can even match up against one of those? Kansas, North Carolina?
So, yeah, I have questioned their personnel because, yeah, you're good for your conference, but how about overall?
Yeah, how do you compete against the big guns?
Yeah, and Gonzaga has a really bad track record of getting knocked out early.
They do.
Yeah, to teams that are ranked lower than them. What do you think about Villanova? They're ranked number 2 in the nation right now.
Well, let's just say this. They've got a big game today against number 23 Creighton. They're coming off a loss Wednesday night at home against number 22 Butler.
That's good for the Bulldogs. That's a huge win for them.
Huge win for them, but Villanova really needs to get it together.
Yeah, and did you see that earlier in the season they lost to Marquette?
I didn't know that. Marquette is a team that'll get you.
Yeah, but I worry about their consistency level. If all season long you lose to teams that aren't as talented as you, then how can I trust your consistency level to be there all of March Madness?
All right, I got to admit, though, I am feeling good about Kansas.
I love Kansas. Honestly, they're so consistent, and even though they don't have huge blowout wins, in the last minutes of the game, they're always able to produce in ways that other teams aren't.
Yeah, Kansas plays today against Texas Longhorns, which should be an easy win for them. They did have a close win towards the beginning of the season against Duke, and about a month ago they beat Kentucky, so it's looking good for the Jayhawks.
Definitely is. What do you think about North Carolina, who's ranked number 8 in the nation right now?
They're coming off a big win today after demolishing Pittsburgh by 18 points.
Not a huge surprise.
Yeah, not a huge surprise. But a big surprise is their win against number 7 Louisville earlier this week. That was big.
That's a huge win for them.
It is. Actually, something funny that happened as Rick Pitino, the coach of Louisville, was going in the locker room at halftime. One of the fans must have pissed him off and said something he didn't like, and he wouldn't let it go. Him and the fan ended up getting into a verbal altercation, and it was just funny. They were yelling at each other. Yeah, the fan got ejected, but...
Definitely not the most professional on Pitino's part.
I know. He didn't hold his composure as well as I thought he would. In other news with North Carolina, they lost to Kentucky earlier in the season and lost to Duke a few weeks ago.
Speaking of Kentucky and Duke, did you see that both of those teams are only predicted to be number 3 seeds this year?
Yeah, they had some big losses this season, but they're definitely not a team I'd want to play.
No, they're being penalized, but when it's time to play, I think they'll both play.
They will.
Did you see that Arizona, Oregon, and UCLA are all predicted to be 3 seeds or higher? This is a huge year for the Pac-12.
Yeah, it sure is. So who do you think's going to win the Pac-12 tournament overall?
Honestly, I think I'm a UCLA girl this year. They have 4 returning starters, and they're adding 2 top 100 McDonald's All-Americans, Lonzo Ball and TJ Leaf, and they've produced a ton for being freshmen.
Well, I think the Arizona Wildcats are going to take the Pac-12. And it's funny that you think UCLA is going to win because they actually play each other tonight. Keep your eye out for sophomore guard Alonzo Trier, who is a 3-point shooter.
As much as I'd love to see big teams win the Pac-12 tournament, it would be awesome to see them knock each other out early and give teams like Washington and ASU a chance to step it up.
Hey, Lauren, aren't you from Washington?
Yeah, I am.
So how do you feel about the Huskies? Do you think they're going to make it?
Honestly, they have such a hard time winning games, but with a freshman as talented as Markelle Fultz, if he could finally figure out that he needs to shoot more rather than pass to teammates that aren't as talented as him, I could see them doing huge things. Who's your team for the tournament?
Well, I am a strong Indiana Hoosiers fan. You know what? They started off their season great with an overtime win against Kansas. They also had a great win against North Carolina at the beginning of the season, but they've had some tough losses this season, and they've lost 7 of their last 8. At one point, they were in the top 25, which was great. But
See, you already said top 25. They're in a slump, but don't put your head down too soon because I could honestly see them coming back and maybe they could even make an appearance.
you know what? If they win the Big Ten, that would be great, but I don't see it happening.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks.
Speaking of Pac-12, did you see that Cal is a bubble team this year? All-American candidate Ivan Rabb has been a huge player for the Golden Bears this season. He has been averaging 14.6 points per game and 10.3 rebounds. Him paired with Jabari Bird, who's giving 15.1 points per game, I could see them having a successful end to their season.
You know what? Cal is coming off a win, but keep in mind they did lose 3 of their last 4.
Another bubble team that I think has a really good chance of making the tournament is Syracuse.
Oh, heck yeah. I've got some really high hopes for Syracuse. They had a great win versus number 10 Duke the other night, which is awesome for them. Really great way to bounce back after 3 straight losses to Pittsburgh, Louisville, and Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they only beat Duke by 3, and it was a buzzer beater from the top of the key. It was crazy. The crowd went wild.
It sure was crazy. Tomorrow night, Syracuse has a big game against the Louisville Cardinals, who are coming off a loss, so I'm sure they're going to be playing tough and wanting to get that win.
But they have momentum on their side, so Syracuse better bring it.
That's true, and if they do well in the ACC tournament, I definitely think they've secured a spot. And honestly, I'm a big fan of Coach Jim Boeheim, and with him possibly retiring this season, I'd really like to see Syracuse make it to the March Madness tournament and do something really worthwhile.
That honestly might be another huge motivation for the Syracuse players, get that last win for their coach.
Of course.
Another team who hasn't done as well as I would have thought this season and is on the bubble is Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, they are coming off an 88-72 win against Nebraska, but their Sunday game at home against the 22-6 Wisconsin Badgers is a must-win if they want to see a seat for themselves in the tournament.
Honestly, even though they've been having a rocky season with a coach as great as Tom Izzo, I think that they could definitely pull this off.
Not to mention they beat Northwestern earlier in the season, who's another bubble team as well.
All right, now let's transition into our freshman watch list. First off, we have Josh Jackson of the Kansas Jayhawks. He's a great player, and he's able to produce on both ends of the court. The only thing with him is he needs to stay focused off the court and stay out of trouble.
Next, we have Malik Monk. He carried his team today to a big win over the number 13 Florida Gators with 33 points.
Next up, we have Lauri Markkanen. With his size and shooting abilities, he's a huge threat for any team.
UCLA forward TJ Leaf averages 17 points a game and 8.8 rebounds, almost a double-double.
Darian Fox of Kentucky is dealing with an injury right now, and if I had to say, I'd say he won't play until the tournament actually starts. But his main focus right now needs to be just getting healthy.
And to end it for you, we've got Bruins guard Lonzo Ball, who's an all-around great player, averaging 15 points a game, 7.5 assists, and 6.3 rebounds a game. That's pretty versatile if you ask me. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for today. If you want to hear more from me and Lauren, you can follow our Twitter handles, which are on the screen. Either way, have a great time with what college basketball has in store for you for March.